Yeah, we're going to talk about keeping kids safe in the digital age today. So anyway, again, I'm Mark. I've been a teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, author. So I kind of come from that background. I've dealt with a lot of these issues as a parent, as a husband, a father, now I'm a grandfather. And so I'm bringing different perspectives here. So I lived through a lot of these issues I'll be talking about this evening. You might be asking, why is this happening? Why is so much seems to be speeding up and things are getting crazier every day, it feels like? Well, just think back to where we were in 1994. This is the Today Show crew trying to figure out the internet.
Back now at 56 past, I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard it.
Around.
I'd never heard it said. I'd always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I would be around big fight in the lunchroom the other week.
There it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean.
Well, Allison should know.
What is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
No, she can't say anything in 10 seconds or less.
Oh, Allison will be in the studio shortly.
What does
it mean?
It's a giant computer network made up of started from.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell us what this was.
It's like a computer billboard.
It's not an. It's a computer billboard, but it's nationwide, and it's several universities and everything all joined together.
Right.
And others can access it.
Right.
And it's getting bigger and bigger all the time.
It came in really handy during the quake. A lot of people, that's how they were communicating out to tell family and loved ones they were okay because all the phone lines were down.
I was telling Katie, and
But you don't need that. You don't need a phone line to operate internet. No.
So see, we've gone from people trying to figure out how to use the internet, from the beginning of the internet to this. Kids spending hours on it. Now we're trying to figure out how to get them off the internet. So let's look at what the average kids go through today, some of the things that they're using their time for with the internet here.
My name is Alejandra, and I'm 13. And like on a daily basis, I go on my phone, like in the morning, and I'll check my Instagram, Snapchat, Kik, Twitter, Tumblr, Vine. Go to school, and I come back, and I'll go on Netflix, and I'll go to my room, and I'll listen to like Pandora, Spotify. I'll play my Xbox, like Grand Theft Auto, and Call of Duty. And that's about it. If I would add up all the time that I use, I think I would spend about 7 to 8 hours every day.
May we help you?
When I'm on social media, I feel like I know what's going on. You know, you do feel a little connected, and you know like what people are up to. Like, you know, I post pictures or videos. I'll like comment on stuff. I don't think I'm addicted to it, my phone. I think it's kind of a leash though, because you always have to be on it. And you know, when I hear buzz, I'm like, oh, I have friends.
I'm Sasha, I'm 16 years old. Currently I have the Xbox 360, MacBook Pro laptop, the iPad, the old Xbox, a Samsung Galaxy smartphone, and the PlayStation 4. I like to play a lot of different video games on the console, on my PS4 when I get home, and I just, you know, veg out sometimes and play.
And the side is retired. So they're held in check here.
I have, you know, first-person shooter like Call of Duty or Battlefield, and we also have a baseball game that I've been playing. I absolutely think that there is an addictive quality to video games. Sometimes I'll just keep going if I really want to level up in a video game.
Usually when I do my homework, when I get home, I'll either come in my room, listen to music, or I'll go to the living room and watch TV while I do my homework. If I'm like reading something and I get distracted from TV, or like I'll pause it or I'll turn off the music, and like I'll go through the problem again or whatever I'm working on, because I guess I was just a little distracted.
If I'm doing my homework on my laptop, I might be also having conversations with my friends, or, you know, intermittently checking my phone. Sometimes if I just get too bored of my homework, I might play like Candy Crush or something. When I was younger, I could go much longer without using media, but when I'm in an environment that has a lot of media and all of my friends are on media, then I find it hard to kind of resist.
Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? This is what our students are doing when they're at home. Sometimes they're doing some of this at school also. 9 hours of media daily. Young people feel social media keeps them caught up what others are doing. Teen girls spending 1.5 hours each day on social media. Is it an addiction or a release? What do you think? How many of you think it's an addiction? Raise your hand. I think studies are starting to come out with more of that idea also. How many of you play games? Anybody here play games online? Yeah, I do too every now and then. And sometimes I get lost in it too. A third of the boys spend over 2 hours each day playing video games. It's probably up by the time this video was made about 2 years ago. 2/3 of teens who multitask during homework say it doesn't affect their work. I don't know about that. I'm not so sure about that. It's hard to resist the media when it is there. That's a key point, when it is there. So as we try to limit what our young people are doing, is the media near them? Okay, some quick points to start. How to handle social media and technology is a family decision. I'm going to offer some ideas here, but every family has to decide what's the best thing to do for their kids, okay? You know your kids. You know what works. Involve the kids as you make decisions, make rules, involve them, let them know why something is going on. Remember the 3 I's: be informed, be interested, and have them keep their devices in view so you can see what they're doing. Start discussing it early. It's really almost not too early to start talking about some of this. And does it fit in school? I was working with a school a while back, and they had a watch come in on a 3-year-old, and a 3rd grader, and the 3rd grader was taking pictures of people around the classroom, which made people very uncomfortable. So now we have these new devices coming in. They're sort of outside our school rules saying, what are we doing with this? And balance the good with the negative. Now here's some of the negative tonight, but we're not going backwards. Technology is a key part of where our kids are going. Okay, I want to compliment Sapulpa schools. They're using Common Sense Media. I'm going to show some Common Sense videos tonight and talk about that. So this is a very good curriculum to use. It's used around the country. I see a number of schools using this. And let's try to understand Generation Z. This is the generation born since about 2000. They're the ones growing up using devices their entire lives. For us, we call it technology. They just call it life. And so they are the ones who are connected. They are the digital natives. They are pluralistic. They like messaging. They're in social circles. This is the weakest technology they will ever see in their lives right now. You might say it's like this: hi, sweetie, how was school today? The answer, you can read about it on my blog, Dad. You might say that this generation was born for the internet.
Come on, push, push.
I love that video because it kind of shows you what we're up against here. That's very natural for them, right? So they need to be connected. They go from that to coming into our schools, and they want to be using technology, so we have to help them do it in the right ways.
The internet's something magical. It's about that makes the TV work, I think. You can't see it.
The internet is a large space full of things
Made out of electricity. A virtual world.
Technology sort of
Comes from space. Something along those lines. The best thing ever. Energy.
Those little lines on your iPad.
Electricity that helps your phone work. I honestly don't know how to explain the definition of Wi-Fi.
I don't know how to explain it, but
I can't really explain it. But if you don't have Wi-Fi, you couldn't download apps and stuff? You don't want to see me if there's no Wi-Fi.
So that's where our kids are. So we have to help them use it efficiently, correctly, ethically. All right, young people have new digital challenges, like how to use Wikipedia. Yeah, okay, anyone can edit Wikipedia articles. Now, I learned this the hard way. This is the football field where I used to be the principal in Kahana, Ohio. And so I lived there for 20 years. That's where I was principal and superintendent, and I got that message from our athletic director I didn't want to hear. He walked in and he said, "You need to see this, Mark." I said, "Okay." So I go back into his office and he's pulled up on his computer a Wikipedia page for one of our rival schools. This rival school did not have a Wikipedia page, but our students decided to write it for them. So you can imagine some of the things that were being said. Now, I think it was our students because everything made our school look really good. They were comparing them to our school, and it was going around our student body. That's how he'd heard about it. So he had to go in and start trying to change it and try to get with the student leader saying, "What's going on here? Let's not be doing this." I went in today, or this is yesterday, just saying, okay, so what happens when you pull up Donald J. Trump? Because this is what our students might do. They might go to a topic in school to do some research, and if you look at the top, you'll see his tweets, you'll see some stories about him, and then coming on down the page, you see Donald J. Trump home, Facebook, and then finally Wikipedia. Many times Wikipedia pops up very early during a search. It's often one of the first thing to pop up, like it was here. And so many times students stop on the first thing that pops up on the page. So we have to get them to go down beyond it, because you can't always count on something that is edited by the public. Yes, I use Wikipedia every now and then. If I want to go find out something in a hurry, it pops up in a hurry. That seems like it's probably true, okay? But when I do something scholarly, I don't put it as one of my sources. So we need to get our young people to understand that too. Is a reliable use for school. It's getting better, but it's not quite there yet.
There's a split perception in academia about using this online general encyclopedia as a scholarly source. Wikipedia certainly doesn't and shouldn't claim to be one of those, but it's a great collection of general information. Primary sources are like journals or letters or a photo, while secondary sources would be a commentary or a description of that journal or photo. Wikipedia is definitely the latter, and thus subject to interpretation and bias far more than that primary source would be. According to Cornell's digital literacy resource, Wikipedia isn't scholarly, but the sources it's citing might be. Unfortunately, they say it's far too general an encyclopedia for good information. It's not peer-reviewed by other experts, and there's not a static ability to come back easily to find that information months, days, or years later.
So parents out there, if your students are doing some research, they're using Wikipedia, it's not a good source for K-12 schooling or at the university level. So it's kind of move them away from Wikipedia, at least for school research papers, for reports that we have to do. So here are some tips for keeping students online. First of all, always pay attention to your child's digital habits. It's like treat the environment as any other environment. Would you let them go outside and play unless you knew who they were playing with, who they're hanging out with, where they are? Think of that when they walk into the digital playscape, the digital scape. That's where they're going. Know which sites your child is visiting and who your child's chatting with. Now, one of the most popular places to go is YouTube. Have you seen some of the great and some of the horrible videos on YouTube? They're all out there. And so how do we help our young people figure out where to go and where not to go? Besides just the honest conversation, here are some tips for how to use YouTube.
Let's face it, kids love YouTube. Whether they're watching funny videos, learning cool stuff, or uploading their own creations, they can stay pretty busy on the popular video channel. But as we all know, not everything about YouTube is fun and games. So here are 5 ways to make YouTube safer for kids. First, set up a family account. By creating a shared Google account, you can not only keep an eye on the videos your kids watch and upload, but you can also see what information they share. Simply go to the top of the YouTube page and select Sign In, and it will lead you to a Google Accounts page to start the process. Second, turn on on Safety Mode. YouTube offers a filter called Safety Mode that limits some, but not all, of the iffy stuff. Simply scroll down to the bottom of your YouTube page and under the safety box, select On. It's browser specific and you always have to be logged in for it to work. Third, subscribe to channels. A good way to limit all the inappropriate content your kids could encounter on YouTube is to have them subscribe to their favorite channels. That way, they'll get notified when a new cool video is uploaded and hopefully stay on that channel. Fourth, upload privately. If your kid wants to upload a video, it might be a good idea to limit who can view it. When you click Upload, select either Private or Unlisted. Private means only people you choose can view the video. And unlisted means that only people you send the link to can view it. And fifth, disable comments. When uploading videos, there's always a chance of someone posting an offensive comment. To avoid that, simply select the Advanced Settings tab on the upload screen. You can either turn off comments entirely or keep them unpublished until you can approve them.
Isn't that amazing? Did you know you could do all that with YouTube? I really like the one about disabling the comments, because some of the comments I see I find very offensive. Even, I don't know why people would put that on some of the videos I'm watching. But really, anyway, lots you can do right there with YouTube. Setting up a family account so you know what's going on with it, turning on the safety mode, trying to keep out some of the videos, subscribing to channels so hopefully your young people go to certain channels they like, and then uploading privately so only certain people can view. Constantly stress digital safety, constantly. Remind your child not to share passwords or leave device unattended. More safety tips. Don't share your name. Tell them keep their names to themselves. Don't meet someone in person you meet online. When in doubt, don't do it. And when connected or when concerned, talk to a parent about it. Talk to a parent. Young people need to understand that they are leaving digital footprints. Here are some examples, some of the ways we do this. A key question, what kind of footprint do you want to leave? Make it positive, make it ethical. Okay, work with your child to establish guidelines about when it's okay to be online and when the device should be turned off. Make sure your child knows which online activities are okay, which ones are not approved by you. Just have that conversation beforehand and limit the screen time. So how much time should a child be online outside of school? Probably ages 2 to 5, an hour a day, and above 5, about 2 hours a day. Here's where that's coming from.
For kids, there's no escaping digital media. 50% of teens
will sometimes say that they often feel addicted to their smartphone devices.
Mayo Clinic's Dr. Angela Matkey says the American Academy of Pediatrics' new screen time guidelines help families manage media use.
We know that increasing hours of screen time per day is associated with increased BMIs and childhood obesity.
The new guidelines break it down by age. For babies under 18 months, no screen time except for video chatting. Ages 18 to 24 months, if you choose to allow any, opt for high-quality programming only, with a parent there to help explain things. Children ages 2 to 5, 1 hour per day, and kids over 5, including teenagers, 2 hours per day.
We're not saying no screen time.
For teens especially, limited media can be a good thing.
It helps with social engagement, building a network of friends around them that is often supportive.
So is 2 hours a day difficult to enforce? If you have a child who's used to spending 4 or 5 hours a day and all of a sudden you say, no, we're cutting back to 2, what's going to happen? The child probably won't like it, right? So that's when, remember the first thing I said, involve the student, explain what's going on. But I think we are seeing, even though the students are addicted to it, they like the videos and everything like that, I think they are seeing the privileges or the benefits of not being connected all the time. We're going to talk about that too, being unplugged every now and then. So start early, start with 2 hours a day from 5 on up, and then start trying to cut back if you think they're spending too much time online. Start talking with them about it. There's a lot of studies coming out showing that social media is causing more stress in American teenagers. More and more studies are coming out showing that. So this is having some severe mental effects on our young people. Here are some tips for cell phone usage. I love this quote. The thing your kid will probably do the least is talk on it. It's a very powerful device. So what do we do with cell phones now?
Every parent at some point in time will face the inevitable question.
I have a cell phone.
Lots of kids want cell phones, mainly because their friends have one. And many parents give in to demands because a phone makes it easier to keep tabs on their increasingly mobile kids. The issue is that most cell phones offer way more than just the ability to make a call. And the thing your kid will probably do the least is talk on it.
Make sure you call me as soon as you get there.
When you hand your kid a cell phone, you're handing them a powerful communication tool that connects them to the world. They can text, go online, take photos and video, and upload both in seconds. But parents are not always around to remind kids to use their phones responsibly. If concerns about cyberbullying, sexting, and inappropriate uploads weren't enough, parents now have to deal with location sharing tools. Many phones come with GPS technology, allowing kids to instantly post their whereabouts, but potentially compromising their physical safety. There are a few simple things parents can do to avoid problems and make sure their kids are using the phone responsibly. First, set clear rules. A good starting point is no phones in class, phones off at night, and no phones at the dinner table. Second, get the right plan. Is your child ready for voicemail, texting, and internet access? Select a plan that is age appropriate and works for you and your family. Finally, if you have teens, remind them that there should be no forwarding of cruel or sexy texts or uploads of revealing photos or inappropriate videos, and absolutely no texting while driving. There's no doubt that cell phones have become a way of life, but because this allows kids to connect to a global audience, and we can't monitor them 24/7, it's up to us to teach our kids about appropriate and responsible use.
Yeah, so we can't monitor 24/7. It's a huge issue that we have. Set clear rules, get the right plan, no cruel texts, and no texting while driving. I want to add this too. Follow the school rules about how they can be used or shouldn't be used in school. When they can be used, taking photographs, and how they can be used in class. Sometimes they're used for research every now and then, but some schools have different sorts of rules for these things. Video games, good or bad? Okay? I love this slide, right? Look at all those different history of video consoles. All right, so good or bad? A recent study from 2016, about 2,400 students showed that age 7 to 11 years, researchers found that playing video games for 1 hour per week was associated with better motor skills and higher school achievement scores, but no further benefits were observed in children playing more than 2 hours each week. So they can't go play 5 or 10 hours, have better grades, okay? They can't tell you that. So I thought that was interesting. You know, there are a lot of problem-solving techniques you have to use in creativity, analysis, evaluation, and playing video games to get to the next level. You have to figure out what happened and create a new way of playing. So it's not all bad. Now, the average 18 to 12-year-old plays video games for 13 hours a week. It's probably up a little bit since this. And by the age of 21, the average child will have spent 10,000 hours playing video games. It's probably up since 2013. Look at that, 10,000 hours. Just think if they spent 10,000 hours studying or doing something else, see? Now, again, I like to play video games. I know young people do it. I've seen it all the time on phones and everything like that. So it can be done, but let's keep it in reason here. Sometimes people need to unplug, establish tech-free family times Or tech-free zones to establish closing hours when we're not online anymore. Here's what they mean.
You know, I have to go to the bank today, and the bank has closing hours. But does your life have a closing hour?
Always
right?
on.
You're always open. You're 24/7, but that can be exhausting. So what a lot of people need to do is they need to structure a time where they say, you know what, I'm actually shutting down from my digital life, and I'm going to focus on my analog life. So popular times would be kind of nighttime. So you can have the nighttime say, you know what, I'm going to get off of Facebook right now. I'm not even going to go on. And again, you cannot rely on willpower. Willpower is a muscle that gets fatigued. You have to actually structure hard times. In addition, lunchtime, especially for a lot of people in the workplace, is a proper time to kind of unplug, maybe go for a walk, get those creative juices going, and really kind of move away from that constant stream, because that constant stream can be a little overwhelming.
Wow.
So ideas for tech-free family zones: dinner table, put the devices someplace else, don't have them out. The bedroom, don't take them into the bedroom sometimes, just have the kids leave them outside, because sometimes they're not turned off in the bedroom. Sometimes teenagers, middle school kids, high school kids in the middle of the night will be texting, checking to see who liked what they put up, what notifications they have on their phones. And then the car, so there won't be any tempting of texting while driving or trying to read a text. You might say you want to explain it, have a structure in place, but be disciplined. If you say we're going to have a family time and you don't have any activities planned out, they're going to be saying, why are we doing this? Have a game, have a video, have a movie. They're going to go out and do something. Be disciplined about it and say, no, for the next 2 hours, we're not going to do this. Remember, we're trying to break a bit of an addiction here. And by the way, no one's grabbing your phone yet. I appreciate that. Thank you. You're holding out. All right.
I'm not hungry.
What's wrong, sweetheart?
I miss Daddy.
I know. We all miss him.
I miss him more.
Oh, no, I miss him the most.
I miss him a lot.
No.
I got missing him.
I miss him so much more.
Hey, everyone shut up. This filter makes me look like a cat. It's so funny, it's making me cry.
Yeah, okay. Let your child understand there's accountability here. Let them know what the rules are. Have the discussion with them. Say, this is what is expected. Do this, don't do that. But whenever they make a mistake, follow through with the consequences to help your child understand the responsibility of having that device. Now, be careful what you ask for, what the punishment's going to be. If you say, okay, I'm taking your phone away for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, who are you really punishing there? Because you might have the kid really bugging you. You want to have us as a safety device sometimes to where the student can call you. Be thinking about, if you're going to take the phone away or turn it off or take it away, how long are you going to do it for? I would start small. You know, if you take a phone away from a young person for 1 day, that feels like an eternity. And if you don't believe me, try leaving your cell phone at home tomorrow and going to work or doing whatever you're going to do and see how it feels. And for them to be cut off from their social circles is huge. 1 day is a huge punishment for a young person. So keep in mind what kind of punishment you might be doing if it comes down to that. It might be something else that they value. Some of it might be just a discussion. Something you know your kid and what works. 10 ways teens are hiding their online behavior from parents from parenting.com. Be thinking, have you seen any of these things? They create duplicate or fake social network profiles. I dealt with this. When I wasn't consulting last year, I was working in a middle school. And I had some great parents come in with their young person who was great. And he was doing this. He had some fake profiles doing some ugly things to people. They create private email addresses unknown to the parents. They use private browsing modes. They use privacy settings to make certain content viewable only by friends, so others can't see it, they can't get caught. They use an internet-enabled device. It might be a friend's cell phone or something like that, a friend's tablet. They use a computer that might be one in the house if parents aren't checking. They lie or omit details about online activities. They hide or delete messages or videos. And then these last two. They close or minimize the browser when the parent walks in. So if you walk into the room and you see a child, young person, suddenly closing everything out, it might just be they're being shy or something like that, but if they're doing it too much, ask them what's going on. Because why am I not seeing that? Why can't you show me what you're doing? And this last one, they clear the browser history. One of the ground rules you might have is you will not be clearing your browser history, okay? You leave it there because I want to see what you're doing. Because you're living here, we're going to keep you safe, we'll do what we can to help you, but you don't need to be clearing all the browser history here. This is not just an American issue. This is going on around the world because kids are being connected around the world now. When they're on the internet, when they're doing this sort of stuff, they are growing up in this atmosphere, and all parents are struggling with this to the point to where in China now, they have re-education schools, and they're doing the same thing, I believe, in Japan, South Korea, and Thailand, to where they're trying to re-educate young people by breaking them out of this habit. Don't know if it's going to work or not, but here's what one of these schools looks like.
New Wankang near Jinan looks like a typical school in China. Big on team spirit and martial arts displays. So it may look like fun and games, but parents will force their kids to this facility for 4 to 6 months to break their internet addiction. Teenagers like Zhang Shi are the addicts. He says his mother lied to him when he came, telling him it was a summer camp, then they locked him away. When I first came here, I thought about escaping, says Jiang, but this place is tightly controlled, so there's no escape. At Wankang, they use ex-military instructors who focus on drilling and discipline. No talking is allowed at meal times. No cell phones, no phone calls, no contact with family. They are completely cut off to stop the temptation. Zhang says his mother unplugged his computer and beat him to get him to stop, but nothing worked. So she spent $1,000, not a small sum in China, to send him here.
So does it work? I don't know. I think the question's still out about that. I know in one of these schools a while back, a young person died because of the treatment that she received. She was beaten. I heard about this. I used to live in China. I led a school in China for a year. I saw just as much cell phone use, if not more, there than I see here. So it's happening everywhere. And by the way, they said $1,000, no small sum. The average worker in China makes between $7,000 and $8,000 a year. To spend $1,000 to send that child there is a huge amount of money in a typical Chinese family. So this is a problem that we're all encountering here. I think it's going to keep growing a little bit. iPhones and Apple, in January of this year, they were warned by their investors that they have to do something because it's too addictive and there's going to be this backlash. They're going to be blamed for some of this, some of the addiction, and it's going to start hurting their bottom line. And so people are starting to come out and say, you're creating this issue, Apple. What are you going to do about it? Kids are kids. They're going to make mistakes. Be prepared. When they make mistakes, keep a positive attitude and make the experience a teachable moment. Tips for communicating with teens today, because they're a little bit different. Younger people in one thing. Teens, don't lecture, use short, meaningful points. Remain calm. Remain calm. Walk while you talk. Walk around the room and talk with them. Keep them moving. That's a Generation Z thing. Listen to them, and then allow for follow-up. Go back and check with them a few hours later, the next day or something like that. Whatever happened, go back and follow up again. 7, let your child know you're always ready to talk. When your child has problems, especially if your child is being cyberbullied or you suspect it. Now here are 6 signs from the U.S. government that a child might be cyberbullied. A child starts to avoid social situations, even those that were enjoyed in the past. If you see your child suddenly withdrawing and not wanting to do the things that he or she loved to do, keep that in mind. A child becomes withdrawn or depressed or loses interest in people and activities. We see a noticeable increase or decrease in device use, including texting. All of a sudden they're not using it anymore, they're using it a lot. And then a child exhibits emotional responses. Laughter, anger, is upset, and what is happening on the device, more than usual. They're really, really upset. They're laughing at something. Something might not be right there. You know your child, right? Keep watching. A child hides the screen or device when others are near, and avoids discussion about what they're doing on their device. They just don't want to talk about it. And then social media accounts are shut down or new ones appear. They're shutting down the accounts trying to get away from the bully, or they're starting new ones trying to get away from the bully. No child likes to hear you're a horrible person, you're ugly, no one likes you. Because people start shaming people online. And I see this a lot. I have seen this a lot as administrator. Teachers, administrators see it a lot all over the country. This is where we are sometimes. So what do you do? How do you stop cyberbullying? Here are some answers.
texting, sharing photos, instant messaging. This is how so many of today's kids socialize. But they can also use these digital tools to threaten, gang up on, and cyberbully other kids. What you may not realize about cyberbullying is that it's not always just one bully and one victim. Often, many other kids are present too. Some stand by silently, some join in, and some may even stand up for the bully. Experts say that kids standing up for other kids is one of the single most powerful ways to stop cyberbullying. So how can you help your kids learn to be upstanders? First, teach respect. Kids' online communication is often purposely vague. Your best bet is to teach them how to text, IM, and post respectfully and responsibly. And if they say something inappropriate online, then make sure that they apologize immediately. Second, encourage empathy. Ask your kids to put themselves in another person's shoes. If they can understand what someone else is going through, then they're far less likely to bully another person or to watch quietly as others get bullied. Finally, tell them to speak up. Encourage your kids to let an adult know what's actually happening. If they don't feel comfortable confiding in you, then let them know that they can also talk to a teacher or any other trusted adult.
Something else I think that we have to tell young people is you have to be the same person online that you are in person. Because I cannot tell you how many times, I bet all the administrators here can tell you, the number of times they've sat in an office with some parents and a student who is really an upstanding student. And the parents are really supportive, good people. The student's never had any issues. The student has good grades, never been in any sort of trouble, but the student has joined in on some bullying. I saw some other people doing it, and the other student joined in. And students start joining in and ganging up on a person here like they were talking about there. So it's important to teach respect, encourage empathy, put yourself in that person's position, and then tell them to speak up. So many times I would tell young people, hey, you have to tell us so we can help. We can at least talk to people, talk to parents. I would have parents calling in. I have parents bringing the kids in being bullied, or maybe they were being the bullies. Follow your child online. Visit some of the same sites to see what's going on. Play some online games with the child, and then let your child know you are connected and watching, not necessarily spying. If you want to spy as a parent to keep your kids safe, that's what you need to do. You decide on that, but at least know that you're connected with them. Now, how do we know which video games are appropriate? I've been showing some common sense videos, a curriculum we use here in Sapulpa and around the country. So common sense is pretty good at least showing you what we're doing here. But 5 questions to ask about video games, because you remember most of the times kids know the video games before they want you to buy it, before they go out and buy it. They played it before someplace else. Ask the child, can you describe the game to me? And make them verbalize what is going on in the game. Is it going to be violent? Okay, well, how violent? What am I going to see here? If I played this game with you, what would I be seeing here? And what kind of offensive language, if there is any in it, is going on here? Why do you want to play this game? Make them tell you why, because you can figure out what makes them happy, what gets them excited, what gives them a bit of a thrill. And then, does this game meet the standards we expect as a family? And I really asked some of this because of the first-person shooter game. Remember, heard that first young man talk about first-person shooter? It's where you have a gun and you're running through a certain environment shooting at people. And sometimes the objective is how many people can you kill? It might be aliens, it might be enemy soldiers, whatever. But you need to help the student sometime, the young person, understand this is a game. Why do you want to keep playing this game? Let's talk about this. It might be he or she, and sometimes young girls play this too, of course. They just enjoy doing it. It's something different. But make sure they understand it's a game, and that is fantasy. And this is not the way we do things in the family, maybe. You decide how you want that handled. But I think it's important to have the conversation about what kind of games they are playing. Common sense goes and rates the games for you. So if they want to buy a game, you can go to their video. Now, it happens to have the part where the robot is crushing the human head. And they talk about that so that, you know, as a parent, you might not want your child playing that game. You might not care because there are other things, the age of your child and other things that the child has seen or done. So anyway, here's an example of a review from online from Common Sense Video for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, one of the biggest, most highly grossing games out there.
There's also a ton of profanity, including frequent F-bombs, as well as some drug-related images and multiplayer banners. Given all of that, common sense says Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is best for players age 18 and up.
So it tells you what's in it. These are about 1 to 2 minute reviews. And it gives it a rating. Tells you, in their opinion, now of course you decide for your child, what age should be playing this. Well, they also do movies. I saw Justice League a while back. I never get to go to movies anymore. I see all my movies on the plane now when I'm traveling around the country. So I saw Justice League. And so I thought, well, it's kind of violent, you know, and as I watching movies on the plane, everybody's watching different movies. There are a lot of violent movies out there. So how do we decide how violent it is and what our young people should be watching? They try to help. And so here's a review of Justice League, and they also point out some of the positive things going on in the movie too.
Expect lots of epic destruction and intense battles. Using all sorts of conventional weapons, plus some magical ones, the heroes fight against giant monsters, green-blooded creatures, and at times, each other. The movie also has a bit of salty language, but nothing too extreme.
You should get out.
Despite all the combat, there are some messages about teamwork and courage.
Ride ain't over yet. My man!
Common Sense says Justice League is okay for kids 11 and up.
So you can go there and see what the latest releases are and get an idea if you want your child to see that or not. Be a good digital role model. Your child will imitate your actions. We are still the biggest role model we have for our kids. So now here's an example, another dinner example. How many times do we do this?
Yeah, just give me a minute here. I gotta get this thing. How was the birthday party? You have to send me some pictures. How was your week at school?
Makes you think, doesn't it? And I was reading an article about this the other day about we talk about screen time for our young people, but they see us, and as adults, we spend how many hours a day looking at the screens ourselves? Might be a TV screen, might be the computer screen, might be work. I know I spend, 6-7 hours a day, many times looking at a computer screen. I don't have young kids, but that's what they would be seeing. And be nice. If your young people see you going off and ranting online, using profanity, saying a lot of outrageous things, they're going to think that's the norm. And so we are the biggest role model. Let's help them be nice. And number 10, finally, explore tips from helpful sites on how to keep your kids safe online. There's lots of help out there. If you check with online experts about sites, games, social media trends, just Google how to keep kids safe online or whatever you want to do, and all these things will pop up. I've been talking about Common Sense Media. That's a really good one I was mentioning here, and Sapulpa uses that one. A lot of schools do. Norton, the ones who do the firewalls, if you do some searches there, as an example, they have articles. Scholastic is a great site, keeping kids safe online. They have articles and blogs you can read about there. The ABCs of keeping your kids safe online from Wired. And then parenting, always a good source about things that you can do to keep kids safe. It's always up to date, always changing. Here are the latest things happening. And finally, balance the good with the negative. And we have the 4 C's we're talking about all the time now in schools: communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. Those are the skills for success in the 21st century using technology, but also digital citizenship. All the things we're talking about right here. How to be good digital citizens, because they have to be for the rest of their lives. And want to learn more, go to P21, the Partnership for 21st Century Learning, some of the skills our young people need. Great website. Global awareness, financial business and entrepreneurial literacy, civic literacy, health literacy, media literation, information literacy, ICT, information communications technology literacy. And basically, we need a digital partnership. The schools, the parents, and the students, we all have to work together on this because it's such a big issue. It's so important for our young people. What questions do you have for me? That's a lot. What questions do you have for me? Yes, sir.
As a parent, you think that you may have loved to have too much freedom. How do you can't just go co-parent.
I know, yeah, I know. I would start talking to them, watching what they're doing. And you have to decide too, can they handle it or not? If you are concerned about them because you just think it might be too much, that's one thing. If their grades aren't where they need to be, if they're hanging out with the wrong people on the wrong sites, something like that, that's a whole nother level of concern. That you can point out to them. If you just think that they are spending too much time there, I think you have to try to reason with them, talk about some of the studies, talk about where you're coming from, that you're not trying to be mean and the ogre in the household or anything. And I think you also might have to find other things that they can do. It's going to take a lot of conversation, but the thing we have to remember is, like they keep talking about here, I think that this is an addiction. And yes, but can they do it for an hour and two and be okay? Do they need it for longer than that? How many times do I find myself checking my email or my Twitter account or my Facebook account all day long just because I keep doing it? It's going to be very hard to get them off of that. I'd say start with the 2 hours whenever you can, but if they're already beyond that, I think all you can do is try to reason with them and give them other options. That's hard.